Before the 200-meter dash went off in Paris, most people knew who was supposed to win that race, because Noah Lyles of America had not lost a race at that distance for essentially 3 years straight, on top of already having 3 world championships to his name. But by now you already know what happened, because Letsile Tebogo of Botswana got the victory. The circumstances behind that race don't even matter anymore. Not just because he had the gold medal, because he beat the same athlete who refers to himself as the world's fastest man in order to get it. So even though Letsile says himself that he doesn't want to be the face of the sport, I'm sorry to tell you, if you go that fast on the Olympic stage and come away with hardware before you turn 22 years old, you are one of the new faces of the sport. And it also means that people like me are probably going to overanalyze every race that you run from that point going forward. So I have been checking my calendar as I try to identify when Letsile Tebogo was going to show up on the track. And in case people haven't been paying attention, he has already been on the track. Not indoors, he's been doing it outdoors. And he's run the 400-meter dash more than anything else. And most recently at the ASA Grand Prix, he actually took a loss in that event. He ran 45.42 seconds to get second overall in that race, which is pretty fast, all things considered. But the man out in front ran 44.59 seconds, which definitely deserves some respect in the month of March. To be real with you, when I first heard about this race, I didn't even realize that Letsile had already run multiple times prior. He's actually been running faster every single 400 that he drops, and it's clear that he's starting this part of his season off focusing on the longer distances. But this is why we have to have the conversation, because Letsile Tebogo is one of the biggest names in the sport now. Remember, it doesn't really matter how he feels about it. People want to see him run, but they also have great expectations because they want to see him all the way out in front. And since that hasn't been happening early in the 2025 season, what should we reasonably expect as the rest of it goes on? Because I know that the World Championships are gonna be in September, and apparently that is the only race that actually matters. But if that's true, all these other races that we're running out here are basically practices. We're just warming up till the worlds go off. Hey, I don't like it, but apparently that's just the way the system is set up. At least the way the athletes make me feel when I hear them in interviews. It does start to feel like the only thing he can do in the eyes of most casual track fans is either win or fail to win. But losing is not really an option. Let me explain. Last year in 2024, Letsile Tebogo was an amazing talent who was already more accomplished than most people were even giving him credit for, but he was still flying under the radar. In 2023, at what I believe was his first world championship, he got medals in both the 100 and the 200. The only man to do that, aside from Noah Lyles himself. He actually got the silver medal in the 100, which means that gold medal was actually his, until Noah Lyles snuck past him at the line, which is what he does, basically like in the last few steps. And in the 200, hey, it is what it is. He got beat, but he still ran fast. Then he opened up his 2024 campaign, running a 300 and a 400. And this is roughly about the same time we are on the calendar this year as it was back then. His 300 was incredibly fast, which is why it sent shockwaves around the internet. And then the 400, he was already in the 44s, like solidly in the 44s when he dropped that time. So this year, considering he opened up substantially slower, I mean, there's just no way to get around it. That's what it is. He's also got way more attention on him now than he's ever had in his career. And I don't see that coming down anytime soon. The reason why I approached this video the way that I did is really based on what the internet was already saying. Just look at the headlines. Sometimes people are referring to it as Letsile Tebogo takes a massive hit with a loss, and like people are sensationalizing it. And let's just be real. Because when you win Olympic gold, you earn a lot of reputation that comes along with it. You're supposed to be in the front of the race. And Letsile Tebogo, in many ways, is still a prodigy. He's only 21 years old at the time I'm recording this video. That's still hard to believe after everything he accomplished. But it's also not that hard if you consider what the greats of the past were able to accomplish. Usain Bolt, when he was at his peak, was like 21, 22, 23 years old. hey, it just is what it is. That's what it said on the calendar. Obviously, his career kept on going. But by that moment, you're already getting some of the best production you are going to see out of his career. And Bolt's career basically was perfect. Like, everything, for the most part, went off without a hitch. Aside from a false start in 2011. Like, just being honest. He never lost a race that actually mattered. He actually barely lost ever. But if he did, that race definitely didn't matter. Between 2008 all the way up through 2016 until we got to 2017, like all the way at the end of his career. And because he was able to pull that off, and a lot of people still remember it, it feels like we're holding just about every other sprinter to that standard. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. Letsile Tebogo is himself. Maybe that's why he says, I don't want to be the face of the sport. Not that he doesn't want to compete at the highest levels, but as far as the attention and, hey, I'm not getting into everything that he said in the interview. By now you probably already know who he was talking about and why. But some of it is what we're dealing with right now, where he is training and preparing himself to get in position. But the 400, let's have the real conversation. What's unique about it is we saw Letsile Tebogo not in an open 4, but on the 4x4 in the Olympic final, running what might go down as one of the greatest races we've ever seen on that stage, and perhaps of all time in track and field. His anchor leg, even though Botswana didn't win, like that anchor leg was box office. Like that was prime time entertainment that you're ever gonna get in track and field. He was racing against another Olympic gold medalist, Rai Benjamin, and it still went all the way down to the line. But the 400 is not Letsile's best event. Not even close. Before the 200, Letsile Tebogo was a world junior champion, not in the 200, in the 100. He actually did it twice. So all the way back then, the 200 was the secondary event. It just so happened that in the Olympic Games themselves, remember, in the Olympic Games themselves, because even at the Worlds in 2023, he still technically placed better in the 100 than he did in the 2. It's just on that stage, he won the 200. Because he was there in the Olympic final in the 100, but then nobody really paid that much attention because we focused on the men who are, again, all the way out in the front. Even if it was only by hundredths of a second, they were still in front. It is what it is. Going forward, what I believe is most important out of all of this is that success in track and field is not linear. Letsile Tebogo he might be about 21 years old, but he's clearly running at the highest levels of track and field. In other words, he's not getting any bonus points anymore. People like to project out what a young athlete is going to do. And the truth is, when do you stop being young? We could argue it's about the calendar, but more or less everybody's body just kind of has a point where you cross over. Because while you're still in your growth phase, you're going to get a little bit faster just because things are out of your control. He's past that moment now. And professional track and field is a very long haul because yes, you run on the circuit and you compete in races like the ones he just did because you're racing your way into form, you're preparing, that everybody has their different training programs and mechanisms and why they do what they do, but you just got to be able to get ready for the moment. Again, it's the way the system is set up right now. It's all about one moment. You got to get to it, get to the starting line at the Worlds, and then you got to win when you get there because the Olympics ain't coming around till 2028. But that also means that as far as the 200 is concerned, Noah Lyles didn't lose between the last Olympics in Tokyo and the one we just got in Paris. If that history is going to repeat itself, he's probably not planning on losing again between then, like Paris, all the way to LA 2028. And I'm assuming he's trying to win that one. So even though Letsile Tebogo might not even be the next great sprinter, he might even be the man who we have now, he's in this era with someone else he has to compete with. There's a few other somebody else's, but I'm only focusing on the men who have gold medals and are actively on the stage right now. And we all know who the man you need to beat if you want a gold medal at this point in the sprinting world. So of course I can't give a full-on prediction of what's going to happen in the future for Letsile this season. But what I can use is prior history. Prior history tells me that if that man gets to the final at the Worlds, or for that matter, the Olympics, he's probably coming away with a medal. Doesn't really matter if it's the 100, doesn't really matter if it's the 200, and you could even add on the 4x4 representing Botswana. Because when the lights are on and it's time to perform, Letsile Tebogo has made it clear that he is ready to compete. I don't know how many losses he might take between this point and that moment on the calendar. But when the races actually matter, it's going to be incredibly hard for anyone to get to the line ahead of him and keep him off of the podium. In the sport of track and field, race day is honestly the easy part, because all of the real work gets put in when nobody is watching. When you wear every day is training day gear, you can let the whole world know that your success in competition is not an accident. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below, and it always comes with free shipping. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.